All right. Hey everyone. So we're live for this third ceramic skills and credentials call. Today we're gonna go over some demos, starting with our project, which is a Decompass, gamified and community-driven Web3 learning platform. Then maybe Didier, if you could also go over what you've built. I think it was yesterday you tweeted a project.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
about
would be
proof of competence. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Also, there's Iggy from Developer DAO, which is also interested in the proof of competence project. And yeah, anyone else interested to interact or demo something, you're more than welcome. And then we'll go over the schema and plan maybe a common hack for the next call. That would be pretty cool. All right, so I'll start with the Decompass demo. So as I said, Decompass is a gamified and community-driven Web3 platform, Web3 learning platform, and this is like a placeholder landing page. We are working on a Webflow website, so if you are a designer or if you like um, writing nice content, feel free to reach out. How does this platformer is that you can browse a curated list of Web3 projects, then learn how to use their features and protocols, and complete quests and start contributing to your favorite projects. So this is the DApp. Here I'm not logged in, so I can see the different projects that have been approved on the Decompass platform. And if I log in, then I'm an admin on the contract. I'm a reviewer, so I'm able to actually review the projects that are being created. So before we're going into the reviews, let's just create a project. All right, so the project can provide a logo. Let's say we are the YOLO project. Then their description. I'll just put description here. A website. I don't know, maybe it's just an ENS, YOLO.eth, and then tags. So maybe this project is a DAO and it's also using NFTs. Then they can link their social medias. So for example, here they can put their Twitter handle. So like YOLO, and then their Discord, for example, and so on and so forth. Also the GitHub. We are thinking also of adding an input for the list of contracts, so that then the users can quickly jump over the different contracts on the different networks for a single project. So this is the step 2, where we create squads and members. For the naming, maybe it's gonna shift more towards gamified names like guilds and adventures. But yeah, like let's assume there's like a Genesis squad, and for this squad we're gonna mint them an NFT. So we're gonna provide an image for this NFT that will be minted for each squad member. So yeah, here I've pasted my address, so I'll be a member of the Genesis squad, and this is the NFT that will get minted for me to say that I'm part of the YOLO project and I'm a member of the squad. So I'll hit submit here. Oh, is everything even running? Yeah. Seems like there's a bug, or maybe in the previous step. I didn't put the logo here. Okay, yeah, it seems like there's a bug with the with the logo. So that's unfortunate, but let's assume the project has been created, and then yeah, let's assume this is the YOLO protocol that has been created. We would be able to see the tag, description, the social medias here, one squad, one member, and then if we go on view project, that's where the learning part comes into play. So all those projects could actually become issuers. So this is just the project details, and then all the pathways within this project. So here we can see there's a Wallet 101 pathway, which is a beginner pathway, and then Wallet 202, for example, it's intermediate. And if I click on quest, that would bring me to all the quests in the Wallet 202 pathway. So this is just all testing stuff. I think the last one I've created is this one, so I can go over it. And so anyone can add quests within a pathway, but then if you are a contributor of the project, you can see the pending quests, and that's where you can approve a quest within a pathway. So the different types of quests that we are focusing on right now is the snapshot voter requests, and also the quiz. Like the project and also the community members will be able to create quizzes. So here they can put like their question and then the different options and the correct answer. Or for example, another request could be a snapshot voter. So here the quest creator would just put the proposal ID um, that they want the person to have voted on, and then on the other end, the user can claim the rewards for that quest if he indeed has voted for a specific proposal. So yeah, we will as time goes on, we will support more types of quests, and that's pretty much where we're at right now. No, we need to focus on the consumer side. So it's the consumer going on the quest and then completing the quiz and getting the rewards.
Yeah, and then Callie, did you mind if I step
Yeah,
in
yeah,
just
go
for a
ahead,
second?
Jimmy, of course.
Yeah, so what we're working for that is so we're trying to make it modular. So that's why it's taken a little bit more time than I think if you saw on the original screen, we thought by mid to late December we'd have the alpha release. It looks more like it'll be the end of this month, but we're making it modular. So we're using kind of a so what you didn't see there is if you are a project and you kind of can own, if you would like, they almost own the contract that gets deployed. And right now we're playing around with what's called a diamond pattern, and we're trying to get it to where it's going to be, if the basically there will be a setting where if they want Decompass to control like some of these quests that are just quizzes, they would want when people complete quizzes, the project would probably just prefer for the app to mint as opposed to them having to even deal with it. But then there may be other more substantial quests later on. You could think of like hackathons, bug bounties. Quest is very general, and we're going to add more and more where that particular pathway, the app would actually want to have full control. So they will essentially have control of what's called a diamond, and they'll be able to actually, we'll have some built-in facets that are provided to them, but in principle, they could then add their own facets as well, and they could almost fully take control of their project or even specific pathways. So some pathways they would just leave to us, and we would mint however we see fit, the badges for the users who complete it. But then there'd be others that maybe they would want to have more fine-grained control over, and essentially they would kind of just use our app as a central curating platform. But they would actually fully own and control the logic and could customize it however they see fit.
Yeah. Hey, hello. I have a question. Not sure if it's the right time to ask, but let me know.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, I might have missed this because my audio wasn't working at the beginning, but I was wondering when you talked about the consumer here, and so I wanted to just get a bit more specificity on like who do you see exactly as like the consumer here?
So we will probably have two main types of consumers, I would say. One that is non-technical, maybe beginner and like user-friendly. Anyone that is willing to get started in Web3 could go over, let's say, the Wallet Connect project, and then there they could see the Wallet Connect 101 pathway in order to learn more what first of all what is that project even about, and then also being able to practice and use the features of the said project. And then the other type of user that I see is more the technical people and developers that would, for example, submit code challenges, or even they could even submit a whole project or an MVP. And then on the other hand, the project owner, they can approve that project as a success. So it could become really flexible um, in regards the quest. It could be a bounty, it could be a quiz, or yeah, anything that we can imagine.
Yeah, that makes sense. So especially for the first consumer that you said, like it is helpful just more to like wrap my head around it. Like, do you see it as being relatively similar to what Rabbit Hole is doing?
I would say a mix of Figment Learn and Rabbit Hole, because on Rabbit Hole you don't have that much guiding materials to go over the quests, and also the most of the users on Rabbit Hole are pre natives, like they are crypto natives. While in our project we will also aim for onboarding devs from Web2, but also users. The main goal would be to just send this website to my uncle, for example, and he can safely navigate through the Web3 space and maybe learn more about some projects, maybe invest in them, maybe use them, instead of being in the Wild West and getting scammed all over the place, and not having incentivized learning.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, one more question and then I'll stop. But so then for more experienced developers, and you mentioned like Figment Learn, I think I shared with you a screenshot on over chat around like a pathway that Figment Learn designed for like Polygon and Solana. And do you see something like that, which is a bit more technical, like involving smart contracts and stuff like that, evolving into being one of the quests that allow more technical people to like build that on-chain reputation?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see like the Solana project there, if they were agreeing, and then having the Solana like developer pathway in different types of quests there, where the resources for that pathway would be like the Figment Learn content, because it's on a GitHub repo. We might like ask for their permission, because it's unlicensed, which means that they are owning it. So yeah, I would be really keen to collaborate with other projects that already produce great content. And if some content is missing, then yeah, we can build a community of content writers and developers, and also reach out to other DAOs like Bankless is producing also great content. Didier, that is here in this call, worked on the Bankless Academy, the V1, and like there was a step-by-step quest regarding wallets. So yeah, having diversity of the sources that present that content to the users, I think it is important.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Figment would be a great starting partner for sure. And I think they're up for it. So yeah.
Yeah, that might be the next step. There's a Pan which is working for Figment. She's also part of Decompass. She's in the multisig key holder team. So yeah, she could help facilitate that. Also, if you have
Great,
some
yeah.
contacts and you want to help there, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I've spoken to Janik, who's like the head of product there, about this specifically. So there's some context already. So I'm happy to continue that.
Yeah, that sounds great, Iggy. One thing though, it does bring up a good question is like what do we see? Because there are a lot of similarities, especially with that type of the lower level or non-technical, but even the technical quizzes and quests. If you're going to just piggyback, which we will piggyback on a lot of great content that's out there, but what actually like what's the end goal that differentiates it? We are open source versus like Rabbit Hole, not open source, but even more further, as you mentioned, we kind of imagine the projects with the modularity eventually, as these get more advanced and as these get more diversified and the projects could actually control it, that it would be a way to eventually tie into the badges. And I know our last meeting we talked a lot about the badge idea and the skill idea and building online reputation. So that's kind of also where it's headed, and I think that's sort of what makes it a little more unique compared to like say Rabbit Hole and even Figment Learn, is that we're going to tie that in in an on-chain manner. Hopefully, that's the idea. Is not only have it decentralized in the sense that the projects could kind of control certain parts of the content they'd want to as well, but also use that to build into a user from the consumer side, build a skills badge through some of these, let's say it was hackathons and bounties and all that from these different projects, and have a central, kind of curation place where you could have a trustworthy skills badge that people could really see what you had done across the different projects. I think that's also something that would be really, really nice and also ties into some of the credentialing work that other people are doing.
So then to clarify, the two objectives are one, like onboarding people into different projects and protocols and making that easier, and then two, helping people like build their on-chain, like verified on-chain reputation, right?
Yeah, I would think that's definitely a goal. Is that we want a place where people can have these badges and can kind of show them off, and if people wanted to easily and verifiably can claim that yes, I completed this hackathon with this rating, or yes, I've done these bug bounties and different things, and it's all kind of in a location, preferably on a non-transferable ERC 721. We're still working out the details of that, but yeah, that would be kind of the another goal of ours.
Okay. Sorry, one more question there. So yeah, I was thinking about the on-chain reputation thing. So like, based on my understanding so far, like a lot of the things that can be verified on-chain are related to like the quantity of things that you've done. So like how many contracts have you deployed, or like, in a more DeFi sense, like how much gas fees have you spent? Like it's all about quantity, but it's hard to capture the quality of what you've done. So like, I'm not sure if with these skills and badges you'd be able to like comfortably answer the question of like, okay, is this person an amazing Solidity developer, or have they just like completed a bunch of things? So I was wondering if you have like, a roadmap to get to that.
That's a great point, and we also thought about that. And the way we are seeing it is that depending on the type of quest, it will have a weighting on the score, because if you submit a project for a hackathon and it's like a very well-known hackathon, then if your project is successful there and you get approved and you get the rewards, it will have more impact than just completing a simple quiz that you could just get the answers either by researching on Google, or maybe some people are going to write articles with all the answers for different quests, even automated bots. So yeah, that's a great point. And I think human evaluation would have a big role there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was thinking like two interesting compliments would be like the things that you've said basically. So like if there was something like weekly challenges which are a bit more competitive, and there's like a leaderboard connected to them where you can see like, you know, how people perform versus others, then that can already give you an indication of like the quality side of things. But you know, this complicates things a little bit, so it's just like thinking out loud. And then the other part is like having some sort of like peer review protocol to assess like previous work. Like if you have people like analyzing the smart contracts or the GitHub code that others have written, and then capturing that more human qualitative information, and then connecting that to the other on-chain stuff that you're verifying as well, then overall that can give like a pretty holistic view of how good someone is at something. But yeah, it's definitely not the short-term step.
I would say maybe not short, but definitely at least medium term. Like for now, we are already integrating the GitHub account, so a user can link his GitHub account not through OAuth, but through the identity link services provided by Ceramic. So I think we are in this phase where Web3 is gonna make use of Web2, and we're gonna put a bunch of stuff on chain or verify stuff through the chain. And yeah, that's definitely a goal that we have. So I would like to hear others here. We talked a lot about our project and related questions. So Didier, do you want to jump in next, or Stepa maybe?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Do I need to talk about the academy or not necessarily? I don't know.
Yeah, if you want to give a bit more context where the ID originally came from. And
is it okay if I share my screen also? It's maybe
of
easier
course.
to understand.
Of course.
Yeah, okay. Give me a sec. Okay. So Bankless Academy is part of the Bankless DAO. And we also try to teach people about DeFi and Web3 in general through doing quests. So we build like some basic quests, and our target audience is really like people with no experience in Web3 in general and doesn't even know how to use a wallet. So we have the wallet basics, and you have the learning slides. It's really like a very simple way to use, like for example Duolingo, where you have like knowledge check after each slide, etc. And at the end of the learning, you have like a quest to do. So for example, here is very simple quest. You just have to connect your wallet, and then you can claim some POAPs. Yeah. So I've been working on this for a couple of months, and we're about to launch very soon, like everyone, I guess. And so maybe I can talk about proof of competence, which is something that has been worked on by the developer DAO, and is actually done by Wesley. I don't know if you know him, probably from East Coast Watch project. And so he started to work on this project called proof of competence. Basically, you have to like do some tasks, and each task can you can receive some points. So, for example, I did one for like the developer DAO. Yeah, so if you have like minted some NFT from the DAO, you get some points, and you aggregate all these points, and then you can like sign to verify this that you completed all these tasks. So yesterday I created one for like the Bankless DAO, where is based like on, for example, like some POAPs. Have you voted on Snapshot? Have you completed some quests on the Academy? So like a POAP that proves that you learned something. Do you own some DAO punks and also NFTs, like cultural NFTs? And so once you collect your wallet, the app checks all this on-chain information and aggregates your score. And it's basically like a DAO social score. And then you can go to the Ringbe network and sign on-chain this transaction, and then you can check. I don't know exactly how it works for like the verification, but then you maybe not this one. Yeah, maybe I don't know the right network, but yeah, you can check it out. You have the GitHub account here. Any questions about the project, or either Academy or Proof of Confidence? And by the way, it was super simple to implement. So all I had to do, like to create this Bankless journey, is create a JSON file with list of tasks, and specify a verifier, either about the like POAPs or like voted on Snapshot, and give the address and the ID of the events of the POAP, or like the contract address for the NFT, and then it would calculate all this score. Yeah. Okay. Any question or any comment?
I was gonna say it's really cool and a great idea, and thanks for presenting that. I did have one quick question on that page right there that you're showing. Some of these, most of these look like they'd probably be like off-chain actions or whatever. So I'm curious, how are you tracking that?
No, they're actually all on chain. I think. No, maybe not snapshots, but like POAPs are actually
okay.
POAPs are actually NFTs. So it's also like on chain. It's tied to your wallet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, now I see.
And these are like NFTs, so you have it in your wallet. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, because I was about to say, I was wondering how these are being tracked, but yeah, if they're all NFTs and POAPs, then that makes perfect sense. Okay, cool.
And
I think
I just wanted to say.
Yeah, there are a couple of
sorry.
things they want to track. I think here there's like amount of ERC20, stuff like that. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. For the snapshot proposal, there is a snapshot subgraph, and yeah, I think that's the way it's verified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but probably there is like a wallet signature also when you like sign, even though it's off chain, like you have like a signature that proves that you voted, right? On Snapshot.
Yeah. I think it's a subgraph that they provide, or maybe it's an API. But you
Most
can
likely,
definitely query who has voted, and for what they also they voted.
And they have a couple also, like if you deploy smart contracts and yeah, other things.
This is amazing because like on Decompass, what we've been focusing on is the whole process of creating a project, and then a pathway, and then a quest, and the approval mechanism, and we are at this stage where we're gonna need to work on the verification of someone going over a quest. So I don't know if you paid attention, but in the form we have those different types of quests, which are also like snapshot voter, POAP holder owner, token holder, NFT owner, and like seems like the repo that you use to build this might really shift towards the proof of competence protocol, where any developer from any project can come and plug in a new verification logic for a new type of quest. And then we would have more and more types of quests, and that's really great. Thanks, Didier, for sharing this.
Yeah, no problem. I really like the simplicity of this project. Like how easy it was for me to like create these tasks. Like it's just a couple lines of code. Really cool.
Do you know if the score is stored somewhere?
So from what I've understood, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't verified everything. So you have to switch to the Rinkeby network, and then there is a smart contract, and you store the result or like the aggregation of the result on chain on a testnet for now.
Yeah, I bet you there's so I wonder, so who actually attests so that I can't just pass in? Does it yeah, I'd have to think about that, because you wouldn't want somebody just to pass in like, yes, I got a score of 3,000 and sign it. There would have to be you know, the app either passing the signing key, right? The aggregating app either, or something like that.
Yeah, definitely want to make sure that
Checking
this
the
score is like verifiable.
Yeah, because that's kind of where we're at, and we're trying to think is like, if you have something that's on chain, you know, you can query it, you know, as long as you don't do too many, because it does cost gas to call it even the, you know, view functions with another contract. But if it's something that's more, if it's something that hasn't been put on chain, you know, how do you do it? I mean, sure, you can have a permission group of reviewers who then have to, you know, sign it with their key and check it on chain with, you know, like ECDSA signature, you know, EC recover. But you know, to do it kind of permissionless is a little tricky. But yeah, that's it's still a great idea, and really cool, and looks really easy. So thanks for sharing that.
Cool. Does anyone else have something to demo?
I can give just update of what we've been up to. Not really a full demo, but maybe it will be interesting.
Sure.
Take 5 minutes. So I'm not demoing an application because there's no UI, but just want to share. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, looks good.
So yeah, so just wanted to show what we've been working with different DAOs. So basically, at Deep Skills, we started onboarding different DAOs and doing this workflow Gitbooks for them. And I think this is a nice addition to something like a Quest system, because as I don't remember how somebody just mentioned, there are some qualitative metrics like the number of smart contracts you deployed or number of snapshot votes, and then there's some quantitative and some qualitative metric, something that basically that shows your how good you were at completing tasks, what your peers think about your work, what is the result of your work, what skills do you have, or what maybe soft skills that quite hard to track in just a form of POAPs. And I think those two systems are quite complementary to each other. So right now we did this for 3 organizations, for Aragon, Prime DAO, Developers DAO, and there's like a dozen in the process. And I can show how it works. So for example, we have created a skill domains for every role in the DAO. I mean, it's not every role that Aragon has internally, but one of those. and basically it shows, it explains the workflow. So how can you start contributing? And then it also gives you these capabilities and soft skills required to do this work. So as you complete projects for Aragon, you receive those. For now, it's just internally in our application, but obviously that will be published on Ceramic in the form of verifiable credentials. And if a customer wants, NFT can be mint out of that. And we also created one for ourselves internally. I mean, it's open for anyone, this URL, but that also workflow for the job that we do when we work with other DAOs. And the good thing about this is that these are different tasks. Each one of those can actually result in some kind of credential or POAP. So, for example, doing interview is a skill, and you cannot really query this skill through the graph or through I don't know, NFTs. It's something that has to be assessed by your peers or your clients or well, somebody, because it doesn't result in on-chain transaction. But it's still important. And then here is we define specifically what you need to do during the interview. So this kind of serves as a metric or rubric to grade those skills. So when you create the first draft of the Git book, it shows what you need, what has to be written down there in that Git book. It can be used for assessment, and yeah, as I said, it can result in the credential. And then the second point I want to make is basically over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I don't remember when, I guess last call was last month. So over the last months, as I was diving deeper in this topic, I realized there's so many super interesting applications that are being developed. So yeah, obviously Decompass and Bankless and POAP, but also there's so many new tools that are not really competing with each other, but rather complementary. Like example, I mentioned there's soft skills, there's hard skills, there's on-chain data, there's off-chain data, there's Web2, Web3, just different sources of data about people competency. And what we want to do, we want to run some kind of workshop to try to design this credentialing system for the future of work. So I talked to many people like Mazuri, they doing something similar, or they doing also credentialing system, but in their own different ways. There's Buildspace or Station Express that are focused on education. There's obviously Quest system and yeah, some onboarding materials like Bankless or Forefront has. And I think it would be super beneficial to just gather together and spend some time to really discuss and dive into how we see the system in the future in terms of actually creating this comprehensive profile of skills. Basically, how the world where LinkedIn is decentralized, how it looks like. Because in my opinion, it will help all of us together to really understand what direction to go. And yeah, I think there's just so much happening that this information sharing would be very interesting. So we plan to do it in about 2 weeks, and yeah, so some people I mentioned will be there. I seen Meta Dreamer was on the call, but I guess he left. So hopefully, but I hope he also will be on the workshop. And yeah, invite everybody who's here on this call. If you think this like idea of building comprehensive professional profile is interesting, yeah, just ping me or ping Deep Skills on Twitter or reach out in any way, and we can create this workshop. Of course, open for anyone, and it will be recorded. But yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thanks, Stepan. Always great to see the progress you guys are making. Really excited about this interoperability between the projects and also commune efforts to make this happen. I believe that that's the way to go, instead of having a single org owning all the data, like who is doing what on chain, and then keeping the information private, and then maybe selling the info. So yeah, open source and decentralization. Let's go.
Yeah, if it's not a community build, we won't have a decentralized LinkedIn. We will end up having the same exact LinkedIn, maybe with better UI, but
Right.
it works the same way.
All right. Joe, would you like to give a few words on what you've heard today, and how you think we can help you in like a Sybil protection or for Depop?
Yeah, I think Kevin's here too, who's been looking at the Depop, but I'll do a quick screen share here. I just put together a very basic model here just for us to get a quick look at what we're looking at. And what we're thinking about is the idea behind decentralized proof of personhood passport. That's Depop. If you want, you can look at, I think it's proof of personhood passport, proof of personhood, maybe .com. We put up an initial thing that wasn't a decentralized one. So yeah, proofofpersonhood.com has the first iteration. Now we need to build it centralized. And the idea is that we would aggregate the identity, because we're right now already taking a bunch of identity things and putting them into your Gitcoin account. So you get a trust score, a trust bonus based on how many of these you hooked up with. And what we're doing now in the FDD is one of our research projects is aligning all the accounts that we found as Sybil. So to give you an idea of how many that is, in the last round, it's like 8,100 accounts were Sybil, and 114,000 out of 500 and some thousand were Sybil contributions that didn't count towards the round. So if you just feel like digging into that or something, I'll just drop this in the collaborative hub room. But the idea is that gives us a really interesting opportunity to build Sybil resistance and build this machine learning system, and then export a trust score out to everybody. So what we're looking to do is get this data into something that isn't just Gitcoin. Gitcoin would be one part of this, and then you'd have basically a Sybil resistance DAO might live in something that is this, where you would have a group of governors of it, who would be this initial group here. Let's say these types of groups versus the ones you can pull like the data from the API and on-chain and so forth. These are the ones we want them to share data into the system, but have their requirements set so we're not like doxing people or doing anything. Working with like ZK Starks and that to make sure like the requirements are very clear of like verifying credentials from all these different groups. I think another one that would be really interesting would be like, I just saw there, like the proof of competence idea. You know, if that's a protocol level thing where multiple groups that are trying to get verification are using it, taking DAO data, I think, is one of the strongest, especially over time, indicators of a unique human. So the idea is that we would run all of this data through like probably multiple like data engineering guilds and throw it into a community owned data lake. So like, let's say if there's a DAO, the DAO token has a responsibility of people can mine that. So who's mining it? Whatever the natural asset is in here. And really by mining, I like saying seeding better, like they're creating something that can grow. And you need decentralized pressure on who are the people who contribute to data being put into all these data guilds that work on the data and all the ones that provide it. So we need to decentralize that and push incentive there. We need to push incentives into, like, from this data lake, you have open source feature engineering. So we need to incentivize like people adding features, right, to this machine learning pipeline. Then we have different processes of data anonymization, and then meta models. So like we take all of the data, anonymize it out of the way Numerai does it, and then run meta models on top of that to find what the best models are using like naive Bayes reasoning. And then we get a really good trust score aggregated out from like whatever score each of these gives them relative to context of whatever app they're in. So this trust score needs to be given to any dApp on Web3. So how do you do that? Well, proof of personhood passport, like right now, is centralized, right? Architecturally. So we need to decentralize that, right, and get it onto something that's not. And then we need to make it modular so that like anybody can use it, and kind of like Stripe with like a few lines of code, or the new Aqueducts that we just posted. With a few lines of code, any system developer, whatever, can add Sybil resistance to the system. So they could access on their own the data lake and put their own models out there and use their own model to score it. But even if they made their own model to score it, their model would also be contributing to the meta model. So it's a self-reinforcing system that we bootstrap off the ability of these systems to get initial unique humanness, which then we could send data back to them to then improve their system without doxing their users through ZK proofs, to then self-reinforce against like modular inputs to this from the decentralized proof of personhood passport. And doing that, we get unique humans. We can enable like one person, one vote to any dApp. You know, just bootstrapping using what we built for Gitcoin grants and taking it to the next level. So that's the idea behind it. And I think like the idea, like people want to say like, okay, if you're going to build a proof of personhood passport, what's your like primary key? Are you building it on Gitcoin user, which is really like GitHub user, we all know? And you could say, is it about the F address? Then people who are a little more savvy say it's about DID. And then people who are a little bit more savvy might say, let's cluster these and build information about these and run that information through model through context. So you're saying basically, is this account Sybil in relation to all the other accounts who are doing that same action on this system at this time? So it's not about are you Sybil like in general, it's about a context of an action taken. So that's what we're trying to build, and like any help, thoughts, anything here would be helpful. Right now, what we're actually doing is, you know, Kevin just got the stuff information from other Kevin a few days ago and reached out to me to start working on the decentralized architecture. I reached out to the Ceramic group. I've been reaching out to all these groups that we want to contribute data and be in the Federation. They're probably almost all interested. There's no reason not to. It makes their product better and they could get a token out of it. So I think everything is lined up. Block Science will be getting requirements from all these groups to participate in the Federation over this next quarter. So what we really need is to actually just build out the system. And where does like our trust score live? I think that's on Ceramic, if I'm not thinking this wrong.
Cool, Joe. Thanks, man. That was a great, that was a great overview. As you said, I'm pretty new to the topic. It's like my first week really diving into it, but yeah, this jives with my understanding what's been put down so far as a proposed architecture.
Yeah, that's really great presentation. Yeah, it's almost like so much info. I don't even know where to start with a couple of questions. I guess one thing I would say is, you mentioned like the ZK proofness, and a lot of times, when I think of people who are starting to use, Star, because it's, like StarkNet's just, trying to get into it and Polygon with the ZK and all. A lot of times people will try to maybe, make whatever they need for their app, and then for scalability or privacy or whatever, do the ZK-ness. But I feel like for proof of personhood, you almost have to start with ZK. Like you have to start with zero knowledge to start with. So, what are you kind of looking for your next steps? Because I know you mentioned machine learning model, obviously decentralization, but I feel like for something like this, because it's so important not to dox people, are you starting with the ZK-ness, so to speak, like the ZK architecture right away, or are you maybe kind of going to start with a training the model? I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, right now we have the model, and that's done through Gitcoin, which is connected to their GitHub, and everything is based on like basically on-chain data or
Okay.
open public GitHub data. So I'm not too concerned about the privacy of doxing somebody there, because we wouldn't be doxing them any more than they've already doxed
But they
themselves
already
to
are.
anybody savvy enough to look for it.
That makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, somebody might complain that we make it slightly easier for that person who's looking for it, but we really don't do it that much. So I'm not too worried at this point. But I do worry a lot there. And there's a few things that I think we can use. One of them is I'm a big fan of secret network and multi-party computation or homomorphic encryption systems that are distributed, especially if they can run through like an SGX or secure enclaves.
Right.
Because effectively the thing is, no matter how zero knowledge what you're doing is, if the computation level isn't zero knowledge, there's going to be a graph that can leak it.
Yeah, there's no leakage or side channels or whatever.
Yeah, so I think you actually have to start at the relationship between the items rather than the items themselves and zero knowledging them. So that starts with zero knowledge computation, which none of the things on Ethereum right now are looking at doing that. I don't know that Ethereum could support it. I think they're two different systems for two different functions that can be complementary. So I think like secret NFTs are a really interesting way of starting the process. Maybe that's something that houses like the verification that their trust bonus is past X threshold. So maybe Depop says, it's a primitive to look at a certain NFT that they hold, which is like a secret NFT that nobody else can see and see the data for, but it can verify that they are past the threshold, which the trust bonus score would basically be like, here's a probabilistic score that we give them of being unique in the context. And then the threshold could be set by the dApp developer, or it could be a binary setting that we say, this is where we feel comfortable with it for Gitcoin. So you can just plug in the code, or you can go ahead and customize a little bit, or you could go straight to our data lake and build your own damn model.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I agree. I think Ethereum's ecosystem be tough. So in the Cosmos ecosystem, I think is where Secret lives, if I remember correctly. They're like a Cosmos Rust-based system or whatever. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there's a lot going on there too. You were mentioning the machine learning and all, so I'll dig into it. It's really interesting stuff you're doing. It seems really hard though, but but I'm glad you guys are trying to tackle it.
Thanks.
All right, cool. Does anyone else have a question regarding Depop, or a question for Joe?
I just wanted to say that this is really great and aligns with some of the thoughts, some of our discussions, and I do really like the fact that you can you can reduce these specific protocols to some aggregate score and make it interoperable and so that you can use it abstractly through BADs or access this data that's stored on Ceramic from different chains. So that is amazing idea, and I'm just curious how is this work structured? Is this part of Gitcoin company or Gitcoin DAO, or where is it happening? And how can we contribute, participate?
So right now it lives in Gitcoin DAO. In the FDD work stream is where we do the Sybil resistance work, and we're working on this quarter on building out the data, like community data lake, but it's basically owned by Gitcoin DAO at this point. So I think when we launch this federation out, we'll be looking at like launching out a sub DAO of like a Sybil detection federation, something kind of thing. I think it shouldn't be invested in, it should just be earned over time of participation. So again, like the data contributors are all part of one group of miners. Secondly, you want to push out, decentralize the amount of people adding features. Third, you want to take the meta modeling and actually run contests a la what Numeride does. So you want to decentralize the people contributing models. And then there's another step in here that I didn't really show, which is like when we flag somebody as Sybil, right? Like they developed this trust score then. So some of them beyond X threshold are identified as Sybil for the context of Gitcoin grants. Then we have to look at those and take random samples of our total users against samples of what the machine learning does. So this last round, we had like 5,000 accounts like manually evaluated by humans. So the human evaluations, to get that done, we pay them, like $50 to do 20 reviews. And that's done through the DAO. So a Sybil Detection DAO Federation would then put this into a fully open protocol with the federation that runs the protocol in terms of architectural governance, but doesn't run in terms of political governance, whereas the token would. And that could be something that could be open to anybody. And it also pushes out and rewards more people for participating. So by putting a human in the loop and semi-supervised reinforcement, we're basically continually dynamically training the model to update its priors and think like the community instead of like a subset of training data one time, or like a small group of people who train it.
Yeah, this is amazing. Thanks a lot for presenting and sharing.
All right, I guess that's it for the demo part. So I did have one question for everyone here. What do you think would be the next practical step to build the Ceramic standard protocol? Maybe that's a question more directed to you, Stepa and Didier, but yeah, for now, those meetings have been about sharing and bouncing off each other's idea. I would like to see some builds that are also spin out from those discussions. What are your thoughts?
I can just share, and maybe I said it last time, but I think there's really no immediate need for any specific build, as long as like Ceramic has all the necessary functionality. And specifically, we're discussing schemas and data models, which is important to add interoperability. but also those will probably be changing quite fast in the next, I don't know, 6-12 months, because everybody is experimenting, everybody is trying out things, and I don't think we want to limit experimentation and innovation just to adhere to a specific to a certain standard. So I was thinking actually about some kind of schema management and schema sharing tool for ceramic, and we have like a very rough prototype of that. Basically, when you have a defined data model for maybe uniqueness, personhood, or completing a quest, or a certain skill, or certain affiliation with organization, or maybe social graph and stuff like that, that are all feeds into this whole large identity model. That is important to be publicly shared between different projects and different applications, so that first of all, when somebody, so if I have a skill model and somebody else starts a new application that's specifically focused on rating, I don't know, skills of cooks in restaurants, they can just reuse it and then don't spend time on coming up with their own. And second, it would help interoperability, achieving interoperability in the future. So that's one idea, and I'm curious to hear if that makes sense, and if anyone is interested.
That makes sense. Especially, we saw some similarities between the types of quests. For example, the one you can highlight is like the snapshot voter quest. Maybe those really specific quests could also have their own schema, and that could be like a first step toward a standard protocol that anyone can use in their own dApp. So great point. All right, I guess we don't have anything else on the agenda. Thanks everyone for joining and sharing. We will on our end we're gonna release a live version for Decompass the 24th of January. So I will send the link to everyone, and yeah, would like to have your feedback on it. And yeah, keep up the good vibes and great work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Finish it.
Cheers.
See you.
Bye.